Welcome to episode 2 of HomePod Advantage. It's your host, Calvin Silvers, and as always, joined by the greats, Brian, Ty, Eric. How are you guys doing today?
Wonderful.
Pretty good. It's a beautiful day outside.
Beautiful outside.
Oh, beautiful day, and we got a lot to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. Sean McVay turning down 5 years, $100 million from Amazon to be the color commentator for their Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime and what they're trying to get started there. I want to talk first off, $100 million 5 years, that's a lot to turn down, but do you think Amazon Prime or just Thursday Night Football in general is the service you want to be associated with?
No, not after winning the Super Bowl, no.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, but hey, John Gruden did something like that.
And look where he is.
That's true. And look where that got him. I'm just saying, I feel like there's better opportunities that Sean McVay could have took if he doesn't want to still coach than with Amazon Prime. I feel like that's kind of a underground service right now, not as good as I would even say like Hulu and other streaming services that have live sports. I get what they're trying to do. And Thursday Night Football is usually
terrible.
That's the least.
Games are not exciting, you know. I never watch the Thursday night games, and I usually watch pretty much every game as much as I can at least. So
yeah, the Thursday nights usually are two teams that aren't anywhere near the top of the NFL. It's usually just, kind of an entryway into the weekend. But I don't think Sean McVay, even if someone other than Amazon Prime or Amazon came and offered him a deal, I still think he would be the Rams coach.
Yeah. There's so much more he can do. He's not tapped out of his accomplishments yet. He can do way more.
Yeah, he's very young.
36 years old.
36 years old.
55 and 26 record with the Rams, 68%. 4 playoff appearances. He's 6-3, and he has been to 2 Super Bowls, obviously winning the most recent one.
Yeah.
And the Rams, that's a good organization to be a part of. They have that fancy stadium, and
a nice
they're
stadium.
in LA. Like, why would you want to leave that?
Yeah, I agree.
And
That's
they
a good
got
point.
a whole lot of studs this year too. So.
A whole lot of studs.
Man.
I would imagine Aaron Donald comes back. I don't see him retiring. I don't know why. I don't know why he retired. He's still got so much left in him. He can still tear up the league for another 5 years.
The game of football is hard though, man. Constant hits. And
I mean, it is, but that man's still
Now you're the biggest one.
that's fair.
He's literally just bullying 2 350-pound O linemen like it's
at
nothing.
one time.
Like, I've never seen anything like that before. That's like not human at that point.
I was gonna say he's doing things that I haven't really seen done consistently as of late. Now, here's the problem with the Rams though, and Sean McVay. The Rams' future really isn't all that bright.
They're looking like the other team in LA. They bought all the superstars like the Lakers did, and they're gonna get old. In the next 2 years, it's gonna get bad.
That's what I'm saying.
It worked out this year. They invested. You brought in Jalen Ramsey, Stafford. You traded for Von Miller. You got OBJ, and it worked this year. And you might have another chance next year, maybe the year after that. But after that, I would say it's gonna slowly start to go back downhill, and you're gonna hit the rebuild stage again.
And you are, if you look at it, the Rams traded their 2022 and 2023 first-round picks for Stafford, traded their 2022 second and third-round picks for Von Miller, traded their 2022 fourth-round pick in the Brandon Cooks deal. They traded their 2022 sixth and 2023 fourth-round pick for Sony Michel, and they have the least amount of cap space in 2022, less than $5 million.
The cap space I'm not worried about because the NFL, they're doing some crazy stuff. Readjust his contract. We have $35 million cap.
I was gonna say they can sometimes readjust contracts. Some players are gonna be willing to take pay cuts so you have more cap space. But looking at all the picks that they gave up, they're not gonna have an opportunity to pick up any young talent in the upcoming 2 to 3 years.
They kind of screwed themselves in building for the future because if you don't have picks, then you need at least cap space so then you can sign in the offseason. But if you don't have either one of those, it's gonna be very hard to bring in young and develop players. And it's going to be hard to have older veteran experienced players who come in too. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot there a little bit, but they got the ring that they wanted.
It's all worth it.
At least they didn't lose the Super Bowl.
At least they won. So
that's true too. Now, if they would have lost, okay, so let's say they would have lost the Super Bowl. Do you think Sean McVay is looking at a different option then? Maybe leaving coaching.
I still don't think
he's too young.
I think he would have still coached.
There's people that are older than him that haven't even got their first opportunity to coach a single team yet.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's doing this and winning Super Bowls, or at least going to Super Bowls, is something to stand by. Now, also, this kind of works in Sean McVay's favor here with Amazon offering him all that money because now he has leverage with the Rams. Yeah. The Rams said there could be a deal soon, anywhere to $15 to $18 million annually from the Rams. I obviously don't know how long that contract is going to be, the length, but 15 to 18 mil annually from the Rams. I'm sure there's going to be other bonuses, stuff thrown in there. Does that sound fair?
I think that's worth it. I mean, that's about, in a way, the same deal Amazon would be offering him. Obviously, it's not Thursday Night Football and only holding it to that. But, I mean, if it was – Amazon's not a bad company. I think TV providers like that are slowly starting to realize that, if I offered NFL games and the packages that they offered, that more people are going to buy it. Like, Hulu does it now.
Who has live sports?
Hulu has live sports. And then you have Peacock, which is just coming out of nowhere this year. I've constantly seen it advertised all over Sunday. Why. Well, yeah, but it's in its own way. You don't need to you can get it on the Amazon Fire Stick and stuff like that. Yeah. It's in its own little thing. So that makes I think that has an impact on it. But he's so young that he can come back to that in 10, 15 years where maybe a lot more booming. So.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I don't understand as a young coach, if I had a record of 55-26 and 4 playoff appearances, where I'm 6-3.
I've been to the Super Bowl 2 times in 4 years. So
only positive I see to that is it's just less work, I guess. Less. That's the only positive. You don't have to be a head coach in the NFL, which I bet is probably stressful, but he's winning, so the stress is worth it.
I was going to say, as long as you're winning, I would feel like the stress is worth it. But I also think he could be a good color commentator. I think he knows the game very well, just from how I've seen him talk to reporters and stuff about certain plays and this or that. I could see him someday being in the booth, but I don't know if that's anytime soon.
I don't say anytime soon, but I would definitely tune into listening to Sean McVay.
I would too.
I like Tony Romo there, but he's starting to get on my nerves a little bit.
Tony Romo, I feel like he tries too hard to predict what's going to happen.
Yeah. This player that see right there, the shift, he hit him there. That's the widescreen. We ran it all the time back when I was the Cowboys.
Seriously, it's we get it. You played in the NFL. You're going to know plays or certain
the game real
situations.
Well.
Yeah.
And it's nice when you predict it every once in a while, but eventually it's just oh my God, Tony.
And it sounds too like sometimes he's just trying to be too cocky, I guess.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like he's very biased towards one team. Now that might be me, and I heard it a lot when the Chiefs played the Bengals, and I didn't like what I was hearing.
He was pushing narratives.
I was like, I get it. Jamar Chase is good, but geez, come on, relax here.
I feel like too with him, it's just he really latches on to these younger players, he could be the future. So then he's trying to push narratives. I don't think he's a bad commentator. Sean McVay, it'd be interesting to see him in the booth. Yeah. But right now, I think he's solidified at the Rams head coach and should be for quite a while.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
On the topic of commentary, how do y'all like the Mannings? The Manning cast. I feel like it's the opposite of what Tony Romo is doing. They're being unserious.
Yeah, it's that's what I think that's what makes it enjoyable to watch because they're I don't know, they're just messing it.
I like that they bring guests.
Yeah, Braun on there.
Yeah. They have good guests. They're not as serious, but to be honest, I like it. I like it a lot. I just don't think I constantly want to watch it.
No. Yeah, I would prefer listening to that over the Monday Night Cast as it is now because I don't like listening to Booger McFarland at all. His hands are weird.
His hands are weird.
His hands are.
He used to play football, so he used to be in the NFL, and you can tell that something happened.
Deformities,
the
hand in the dirt.
They started to curl over each other and stuff like that. It just looks. I don't know what that's called. Where they
So his hands are
carpal
tunnel syndrome. I think is what it is.
Literally just been.
Yeah, but
his hands aren't made for TV.
You don't usually see him, but every once in a while you catch a glimpse. You're just whoa.
I feel like too sometimes his takes, which I get, are just very basics.
Yeah,
not even really scratching the surface.
If you're gonna pay him all that money, I'm sitting right here.
Exactly. I feel like we can. Here's our example right now.
Throw us on there with Randy Moss. We'll make it interesting. Bring him Adam Schefter. Get the insights.
That'd be fun. I feel like we could do something there. We're going to stay in the NFL. We're going to switch over to Kyler Murray. Does he deserve money to remain with the Cardinals? Has he done enough?
Yes.
I think he deserves a good contract.
All right, let's go over some of his stats here. He won AP Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2019, and that year he had 3,722 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 64.4% completion. Next year he had 3,971 passing yards, an improvement, 67.2 completion, an improvement, 26 touchdowns, an improvement, 12 interceptions, the same. And then in this most recent year, 3,787 passing yards, so down from the year before, but up from his first year. 69.2% completions. That's his best of his 3 years. 24 touchdowns, his second best, and 10 interceptions, the least amount of interceptions he's thrown in the season. 0-1 in playoffs because they lost 34-11 to the Rams, who eventually went on to win the Super Bowl. But just based on 3 years of those numbers and his one playoff game, you still say he deserves to be the franchise quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, 1,000%.
I agree.
If he's not their quarterback, who else is going to be? They're going to draft somebody.
That's true. And this draft class is very
Who are they going to pick up? Who's a free agent they can pick up? That's better than him.
I mean, there's some options, but I think Kyler Murray, he's only been in the league for 3 years. He's slowly, steadily improved every year. Mm-hmm. His biggest problem with me is his injuries. Last year, they started off somewhat better than he did his rookie year. Then he got hurt, and then they pretty much just faded off after that. This year, they started off 7-0.
Yep.
Then they lost to Green Bay, and then he started missing a few games, and he just never really, when he came back, he just never looked like he was the same as he was before the injury. And I think that really affected the Cardinals at the end of the year and into the playoffs. And it showed as their first-round exit and as a bad loss against the Rams.
Bad loss. And so you guys are saying – so here's your franchise quarterback then. First year, 5-10-1, fourth in the NFC West. Second year, 8-8, third in the NFC West. They started 6-3, ended up 8-8. This year started 7-0, as Brian just said, ended up 11-6, second in the NFC West. Those records are all right for you? It seems like there's a lot of
there's improvement,
fades.
But they
can't finish the season the same they started.
It started so well, and then because I like watching the Cardinals, that's a good, bright future.
Yep,
they have some good stars. They brought in D-Hop.
I think they have a good coach too.
Yeah, Cliff Kingsbury is very good. They have Budda Baker on the defense, whoever they like. They have J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones, two menaces on both sides of the line. They have Isaiah Simmons, who's a good young safety linebacker hybrid. He's interesting. They can move him around, use him in different places. But they have a good, bright future. I think Kyler Murray, he's just got to stay healthy, and that could be a really good team come here in a few years.
And like you said, I get there's been injuries and whatnot with Kyler Murray and even just other places on the team that could lead to these second half season fades, if you want to put it like that. But do you think it is more of a coaching thing that we're seeing these fades in the second half of the season? Is it more, your quarterback's not playing, and then when he comes back, he's not fully healthy? Where do you think the fault is if you had to put blame somewhere?
I think the blame, it can't really be on the QB. I just feel like this is all this stuff they're talking about with Kyler Murray recently. And I just feel like they're just really trying to spin this narrative just so they cannot pay him as much. They want to bring him back. Like, that makes the most sense, but they just want to bring that price down. But in reality, it's the whole team thing. Because at one point last year, people were saying if the season stopped right now and they're 7-0, he was going to be the MVP.
Mm-hmm. He was the front runner. Pretty much playing real well. 7 weeks.
That's a good point, Ty.
He's a front runner for MVP.
People were saying that front runner for MVP. Yeah. I had him on my fantasy. He was racking me up some great points. I was saying he should have been MVP at the time when they were 7-0. I think you're right. There is kind of a narrative here, but he's coming out and saying, I want to be the franchise quarterback. I want to be with the Cardinals long term. And I feel like as an organization, you have a player who people were saying was top of the MVP race.
I mean, you took him the first overall pick in the draft.
If he's saying he wants to stay, why would you want him to stay?
Why are these questions coming from?
And I mean, it's not the playoff that you wanted, but he led you to the playoffs. That's every
team's goal.
He got you there. He got you there.
I mean, I don't know how you would after thinking that he was the first overall pick in the draft. I don't know how you don't want to even consider bringing him back. I mean, he's shown that he's good enough to be your starting quarterback. He's not like a first overall pick that has been a bust like other quarterbacks have been in the past with other teams. He's shown that he can go out there and he can play well. He can get your team wins and get you to the playoffs. But when they get there, something happens at the end of the season. to where they just don't show up. They're not playing the same. So maybe it is Cliff Kingsbury. Maybe they have to reevaluate that. Maybe they have the spotlight on Kyler Murray when it needs to be on the coaching staff and him. So they might need to look into that more.
And here's why I think, especially right now with the Cardinals, you want to keep Kyler Murray. Stafford's going to be a free agent in 2023. We don't know if he's going to stay with the Rams, what that deal is going to be. Trey Lance, probably going to be the starter for the 49ers. Hasn't really had that many games under a chance. So who knows how he's going to play. I think probably Kyler Murray's going to be better than him. And Russell Wilson is going to be traded. So Murray, I think, would be the best quarterback in the NFC West.
But depending on what the 49ers decide to do with Jimmy Garoppolo. Obviously, he's better than I think he's better than Jimmy Garoppolo. But, I've heard that they think that Trey Lance is still not ready, and I don't know if they want to keep Jimmy Garoppolo for another year around. So maybe you trade Jimmy Garoppolo for like a veteran quarterback. You bring him in for 2 years. I've heard Brady wants to go to maybe San Francisco. What if he comes out of retirement in a few months and
you think
and he's like, you know what? I want to go play in San Francisco. He plays there for a year. Trey Lance gets the greatest quarterback under his wing, then he retires. I mean, who knows what could happen? It's a lot of possibilities.
Indeed.
I don't know if Brady would come out of retirement.
I do think if he did, I do not think Tom Brady would want to coach up Trey Lance. He didn't want to coach up Jimmy G.
Well, I'm not saying he would coach him up, but like how Alex Smith and Pat, he have him under his wing. He teaches him how to play. He shows them like the tricks to play and excel in the NFL because he's been doing it for so long and he's doing it at such a high level, such an old age that Trey Lance can take some of that and use it into his game and elevate his game. So I don't know.
I think the couple games that like Trey Lance played weren't terrible for a early starting quarterback, like a young quarterback. His performances weren't awful. Like they were decent games for like a quarter, especially how he can run too. Like just another,
he has that nice extra
scrambling like.
But then it comes to the point of can he consistently do that through a season? We saw 2 games.
Time to find out.
Yeah, that's
he hasn't had a chance to prove that.
But so then it's a point of okay. When do we throw him in there then?
I mean, I would say
when do we give him that chance?
If you don't do it this year, then you got to do it next year. Because eventually you just got to be like, we're never going to know. We might as well just throw him in at this point and see. Because that's what the Packers got to do with Jordan Love. Eventually you just got to see if it was worth taking him in the first round. Yeah. Because if you just keep him on your bench and behind these quarterbacks, there's no point.
So we talked last episode. If you haven't checked it out, episode 1, go ahead and do that. But Murray in his agent statement said that he wants to be up there with the highest paid quarterbacks, as everyone's going to say when their contract runs up. Do you think he deserves to be up there with Mahomes, $45 million, Josh Allen, $43 million, Dak Prescott, $40 million, Watson, $39 million, Wilson, $35 million? Those are the top 5 paying quarterbacks right now. Does he deserve $35+ million, which would put him behind Dak Prescott at the 4th spot? Or do you think he deserves more than Dak or Josh Allen?
I would say yes, because if we're comparing their first 3 seasons, if you compare his first 3 seasons to Josh Allen's and Dak Prescott's, it's basically the same, if not better. They're in the same category with their first 3 seasons. Like, it's the same ballpark-ish potential, good seasons, didn't quite make it far in the playoffs.
Yeah, got the same thing. Yeah, I was going to say, Dak started off real well his first year, and he slowly played better the 2nd and 3rd year, and then he slowly started down. It might have been because he broke his ankle last year, and he came back this year. He showed signs, but I don't know with Dak. I don't think he's worth $40 million, but at that point they already paid him. So
do you think Murray is worth $40 million?
No, I wouldn't give Kyler Murray at $40 million.
I wouldn't. Yeah, either.
That's. I get he's only 3 years in and he's gotten better every year, but $40 million's a lot. I would probably put him in the $35 million range. I would give him about what Russell Wilson's getting. He's getting $35 million, right? I'd give him around that ballpark or so.
No more than that. I would say maximum 40 probably.
For how many years do you think?
I would
4
do
years,
like
5 years?
4 years for like, I don't know, $30 million a year. So like 4 over 120 wouldn't be too bad. I don't know what the signing bonus would be, but that's not my job. So that's a little too much for me. So But he's definitely worth a good contract of $30 to $35 million.
Yeah, I don't think he's a bad quarterback. There's this. I want to see how he can play in the playoffs. Like you said, we're seeing steady improvements, especially from completion percentage wise. And this year was his lowest amount of interceptions out of the 3 years. So sounds like he's making smart decisions. And I feel like we haven't even talked about it. He's got quick feet.
Yeah,
he's mobile.
Playmaker.
He's probably got at least another 5 touchdowns just on the ground, just from that, probably each year. So,
and last thing I want to talk about with the Kyler Murray situation was he wrong in how he's handled it, where he took off all photos of him and the Cardinals on Instagram?
That was so childish.
That was
immature. Not a good idea.
So, I mean, I feel like.
For what?
Like
why?
He should not have did that, but the Cardinals as a multi-million-dollar organization should not be taking Instagram posts that seriously. When you're like, come on now, the owner is talking about Instagram posts in meetings.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, the media is gonna ask about it though. Be like, did you see your franchise quarterback deleted you off? Like,
they see that stuff instantly. I think Kyler Murray's just trying to use it as a play to kind of get more of the talks going. Definitely. But if you want to stay in Arizona as their franchise quarterback, why do you completely just remove their name from your identity? That's who you are. You're the Arizona Cardinals quarterback, and you don't want anything associated with him. It's a bold move, but it doesn't really make sense.
Well, Giannis did the same thing. Stay with the Bucks for 5 years.
That's true.
That's true. I mean,
I just feel like as an athlete, I wouldn't take off any photos or anything on my team until I was traded away or gone.
Or for certain.
Because then he had to come back and he had to post, and then Murray posted another photo that just said, I play this game for the love of it, my teammates, everyone who has helped me get to this position that believed in me and to the championships and to win championships. All this nonsense is not what I'm about, never has been, never will be. Anyone who has ever stepped between those lines with me knows how hard I go. Yeah. But I'm saying you wouldn't have to say that if you didn't delete it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can have, what you've done so far in your first 2 years, it speaks enough volumes to where, you don't have to, people know that you deserve the money that you want. You don't have to bring all this extra attention to you by unfollowing the Cardinals and taking them out of your bio and stuff like that. It's just an unnecessary, childish thing to do.
It seems very unnecessary, very childish to me. We're going to move on now. Ty, we saw John Morant just really go off last night. 52 points, a couple great dunks, great shot at the buzzer. I'd say that probably puts him up in the MVP voting just a little more than where he was. Does John Morant deserve to be top 3 in MVP voting next to Joel Embiid, Giannis?
100%. Yeah, he deserves to be up there. He deserves to be up there. 100%.
Okay. I'm going to try to run through these quickly just so we have some stats to go with. Joel Embiid. His team's 37-23, third in the East. Okay, average of the season: 30 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 49% shooting, 3% from 3-point, and they have a 21-9 record their last 30 games. Jokic, got to remember he has no Jamal Murray and no Michael Porter Jr. He's got his team 36-25, 6th in the West. He's averaging 25.5 points, 13.8 rebounds, 8 assists, 50% shooting. 36% from 3-point.
50 from the field?
57%. Yep. Giannis, 4th in the East. They're 37-25. 29.4 points per game, 11.3 rebounds, 6 assists, 54% shooting, 30% 3-point. So right now, those 3 are what in most MVP races are the top 3. I'm going to go with here's Josh. Here's John right now.
We're missing, man. No,
DeMar DeRozan?
Yeah.
I got him here.
Okay, there we go.
DeMar DeRozan, 39-23. The Bulls are 2nd in the East. 28.3 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, per game, 5 assists per game, 52% shooting, 37% from 3-point, and he is the first Bulls player in 25 years to drop 50 total fourth quarter points in 3 games.
I was about to say he's a fourth quarter god.
Yep, fourth quarter god.
Yeah. He had 11 straight games of covering his over for his points per game until last night where he didn't get it.
There you go. There's another great stat. Thanks for bringing that to the table, Brian. I like it. And then we get to John Morant. Grizzlies are 43-20, third in the West. Third in the West. 27.1 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, 6.7 assists per game, 49% shooting, 33% from the 3-point. After his injury in January, he's averaging 29 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists on 50% shooting. Here's what I'm going to say before I let you guys really dive into this. Most valuable player without Ja Morant, what are the Grizzlies? What are the Grizzlies? You got what? Steven Adams?
They have
Williams,
they have some good.
Kyle Anderson.
They got Desmond Bain's been playing well. Jaren Jackson's been playing well.
What are those guys going to do in playoff time? Or will they even get to the playoffs without Ja Morant?
I think they sneak in. I think they'd be in. They almost got in last year.
But look at these.
Ja Morant was hurt for 10 games in a row, and they stayed afloat.
They got into the playing game last year. I think with a little more like team bonding and chemistry, I think they can get a few more wins. They can get up into the 7, maybe 6 seed. And I think even without Ja, they could still possibly get into the playoffs.
But, I mean, you're third in the West here. These other teams like the Bulls, second East, but they got Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball. I can go on and on. Giannis, they have Drew Holiday, Middleton, Bobby Portis, whatever you want to take with Bobby. Nuggets, that's another team that I guess you could say maybe don't have enough. But they still have Monte Morris, Aaron Gordon, Austin Rivers, and then obviously 76ers, Harden, Harris, Niang, Danny Green, Tyrese Maxey.
Maybe
so out of all those teams, I feel like the Grizzlies are the least.
I mean, I think from like how you're asking that question, like if you take them out of that team,
who's the most valuable?
I genuinely think in that perspective, if you take Giannis out of Milwaukee, the Bucks are the worst team. He's out their MVP.
He's the best
candidate.
Oh, you're so right, man. I love you, Derek, man.
I think the Bucks are the worst. If you, from that perspective, if you take Giannis out of Milwaukee, the Bucks are the worst team out of those 5 without their MVP candidate from that 5.
So you think he's the most valuable player for his team?
Yes.
Out of all
he's the best player on offense and on defense.
Easily.
Yeah. I mean, back-to-back MVP, Finals MVP. He's won 2 Defensive Players of the Year now. I mean,
only Akeem and Michael Jordan did that.
And have MVPs. That's great company. Jokic won MVP last year, but he might win it again this year. But he's not really doing much in the playoffs when it comes time to it. They usually win their first round, but then they fall short in the second round.
Indeed.
So how the placement in like the West or the East, how much does that matter to you when deciding an MVP? Because I feel like that matters a lot.
I think it does.
I think it does matter because especially with the Grizzlies being 9 last year, I believe, playing in the playing game against the Warriors, and then now being at 3rd and holding a tight position at the top, very close with 2nd with the Warriors right now. That's big because that's a significant increase. That's 6 spots right there, which goes a long way in the playoffs. So I think that plays a big role.
Indeed. I always feel like the NBA MVP is the most narrative-based award in all of sports. So the standings do matter. But when looking back at it historically, the NBA I think they're going to just give it to Giannis because if he ends up being the 1 or 2 seed, which he very likely can.
4th right now.
And he has those stats. And we look back on it and we give it to somebody else. It's going to be like when LeBron won it for 2 years. They gave it to Derrick Rose. Then LeBron won it 2 more years in a row. When we look back, it's like, all right, was LeBron really not the best player that year? And we just gave it to Derrick Rose.
And you can't
because he had an impressive season.
What Derrick
Rose
he
had a great season. He had a great season.
Young, man.
But I feel like Ja Morant, he's something different, something impressive, but the most exciting, but the most valuable player when we're looking back at it. I'm like, Giannis probably should have got that one. He probably should have.
I think it has to be between like Joel Embiid and Giannis.
Yeah, it has to.
I don't think it could be because really anybody else.
I mean, in that case, Joel Embiid is 3rd in the East. Giannis is 4th. Obviously, a lot of games left to be played, but right now,
it's a close race.
He's got his team in a better. Yeah, it's a very close race.
Ja Morant is doing a great job of putting his team in position to make the playoffs. But like I said, it's a narrative-based award. The NBA wants their MVP to be in the finals or conference finals, and Ja Morant's probably not making that far. If you get bounced in the first round as an MVP,
well,
that's why I don't think
the MVP is of the regular season. Although they always announce it right before the final starts, which I will never understand.
Yeah.
So I don't know why you announced the regular season MVP as the playoffs is ending after everything that they've done.
3 days before
Maybe they've already have the winners figured out and they just keep it on the down low. I'll never understand that part. But, it's hard to take away what Ja has done in the regular season, even if he doesn't get far into the playoffs. Now, this would be his first time into the playoffs. So would you bring that into perspective as well?
Isn't it technically a regular season MVP award though?
Well, yes, but I'm saying since they announced it, I feel like some of that has to play into it.
That's going in there some way. So if I'm watching a game, you go for like 50 the day before. I'm definitely putting that in my mind when I'm voting.
And it's based off of fans, and the fans just always have a way of just making things interesting when it comes to voting for like All-Star and MVP and stuff like that. So they always surprise you.
So before we move on, I got 5 names I've listed: Joel Embiid, Jokic, Giannis, DeMar DeRozan, John Morant. You got to give me a top 3 right now. Of MVP. I'm going to go Giannis, Joel.
I'm going Giannis, Embiid, Ja, in that order.
I kind of want to put DeMar DeRozan.
I want to put DeMar because they said that when he left San Antonio that his career was over.
32 years old and going off. Just a surge, a resurgence right here from him.
Honestly, I want to see DeMar win the MVP. I think he deserves it.
The thing that's holding me back with Jokic is he's 6th in the West. I get it. He doesn't have Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., and he's putting up great stats. 57% shooting is crazy, but 6th in the West. I get the West is hard, but you got teams that are 3rd in the East, 4th in the East, even 3rd in the West, 2nd in the East. I feel like some of these teams are carrying better. So, I'm going to go Giannis, Joel, DeMar, and then after that, I don't know.
I'm going Giannis, number 1.
Okay.
A decent-sized gap, Joel Embiid, then a even more decent-sized gap to John Morant.
I'd probably go Giannis, Embiid, and I'd put DeRozan just because I like DeRozan.
I like DeRozan.
He's had a great year, and he's playing lights out, honestly.
He is, and that
phenomenal basketball.
That Bulls team is fun to watch as well.
Yeah. They got
a lot of young talent.
Once they get everybody back, they get Lonzo and Caruso back.
I was say Lonzo's out right now too.
Yeah,
Zach LaVine's playing some.
Zach LaVine. He doesn't have to. DeMar's just putting the team on his back, and he's holding him in that second place right now. So
it's fun to watch. All right, last topic of the day. This is kind of where we just throw out something that we want to talk about, not really necessarily related to what's happening right now, but kind of. The overtime rules, NFL overtime rules. Brian, I know you probably have some thoughts here. You've seen the good and the bad this past season. What do we think about the rules?
It doesn't need to be changed.
Not at all.
It doesn't need to be changed. Nope.
I mean, I get why they want to do it to make it fair, but
sports isn't fair.
Yeah, that's just how the game works.
I get it. You have your defense step up. I mean, you've been playing defense all game, but I feel like the point when it comes to overtime, it's a different game at that point. And that's why I don't like letting the other team get a chance. It's a different game at this point.
The only I think a strong argument is every other sports, the overtime is how the normal regular time went. In basketball, it's just another quarter of basketball, basically less time. But soccer, even they just play another 30 minutes, I think, and overtime, it's just more time added to the game instead of just one extra possession.
That's what. So they're keeping the same dynamics of the game, and what you're saying, they're keeping the same dynamics, but in NFL, they're taking away another team having that offensive chance that they would get in a regular game.
How much time would you say add on then if they wanted to add time?
Well, here's what I think they need to do too. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but they got to get rid of ties.
I like ties in the regular season because
you play to win a game. You play to win a game. You don't play to tie.
I don't like the tie either.
But you think of it like this, though. They play 17 games a year now, including playoffs, depending on the team. Yep. Now, you add, if they play in overtime in the regular seasons, they play another 15-minute quarter. So that's 75 minutes right there. Now, if it ends in a tie after that, you want them to play another 15 minutes, and it gets up to 90. That takes a toll on people's bodies. That keeps them injured. And that keeps the star players off the field, which doesn't bring the NFL more money. And people aren't going to tune in.
Do we need to keep playing 15 minutes? Can we not do it like the old college or even college now?
But that could go for a while, too.
Yeah.
You go back and forth.
Well,
I've seen scores of college getting up to 70 in like 7 overtimes.
Okay,
like, they don't want that either.
Let's say you just have them 25 yards going in. I mean, what, you might run 3 plays, 1 possession. The next one might be another 2 plays. Like, you're not going to run up another 200 snaps or anything.
I mean, but in the NFL, it could be different.
I feel like 25 yards in, like the college does it, is a little – in the NFL, that's too short. I feel like maybe even just putting them at half midfield and saying go in.
I say 25 because that's the touchback. So that's like where majority of offensive possession starts.
Yeah, 25. I would say the 25 is a good start. I saw some like proposition if they did change it. You know, you start at 25. Each team gets 1 chance to score, and if they both score, then you go to 2-point conversions. So then you're only at the 2-yard line. You're not like really tiring yourself out. You're not running like all the way down the field just to not get the pass down to you. Like you keep it small, and then you can go those quick. So that's an alternative if they actually change. I'd be okay with that.
Or I would just do it. You're 25 yards going in, you score, you have to go for 2.
That's another possible alternative.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah,
you have to. No more field goals. Go for 2. If you don't get it, then the other team gets a chance.
Yeah,
and you keep doing it that way. I just feel because I feel like with one, like we talked about, you're not giving a fair. Life's not fair. But it's changing the game in the fact that a team's not going to get an offensive possession, possibly. And I feel like that's not how the game's played. That's not how football's played. And like I mentioned, I hate ties. You don't play a game to tie. No other sport I'm playing to tie in.
Yeah. I get that. But my biggest problem with this whole idea is that I get it. You know, your team in the playoff, it's the biggest game that you've been waiting for all year. You want to see your team get the chance. But when it comes down to it, you can't let an NFL team go 50 yards in 13 seconds. That's just not right, especially when you're the best defense in the NFL. That's just bad. Yep. You just can't do that.
Yeah, I don't think it should be changed, but I get a standpoint for why it should. Because, obviously, like I said, in basketball, it's easier to get, a more game. But, football, it's hard to, make it, even.
It's not a continuous game.
Yeah,
it's offense then defense and offense and defense.
Yeah, and basketball, you have so many possessions.
You have a whole nother 11 guys that play the different side of the ball, so it's not like a back and forth game, really.
Yeah,
but
they say defense wins championships. Where I feel like with the new overtime rule, that's not the defense winning championships quote. You can't really say that.
Yeah, you can't say that.
People just throw that out the window. But back when the Chiefs lost to the Patriots back in 2018 on the same situation. The Chiefs threw out the idea and proposed it, and it didn't go through. The Bills were one of the people who said no to it, and now karma has returned itself, and now it's backfiring on them. So it's going to be a continuous circle where it's going to happen to teams. They're not going to like it. They're going to want to change it, and then the teams who don't like it aren't going to change that. So it's just never. I just don't think it's ever going to change because it's going to affect everybody, and then everyone's going to feel the other side. It's just.
I saw a thing that it said if the overtime rules wanted to be changed, 24 out of the 32 teams, owners would have to vote yes.
They're not doing
that's
that.
A lot.
They're not doing
That's a lot.
75% of the league.
Yeah, that's a lot to get behind. So you guys don't think it should be changed?
No, I don't think so.
So I'm by myself on this one.
I don't think it should be changed.
I just feel like it. Like I said, it's a totally different game once you get into overtime, the momentum. And it changes the whole game of football. As Eric mentioned, you're not getting possibility of not getting that offensive possession, which that's not how football is played. I feel like both teams should. Anything else that you guys want to throw out about what we've talked about or NFL overtime rules or anything?
I have one thing to say. This may be a hot take going back to John Morant.
Okay.
Not even a hot take. I told you this last night, Calvin.
Yep.
John Morant, at this point, is better than Luka.
You did say that. I do remember you hearing that.
I wouldn't disagree. I wouldn't put it out. I do like Ja a lot, so this might be biased, but I don't disagree with that.
I feel like they're on the same level. I wouldn't say one's necessarily better than the other right now. I would say that.
I would if I was taking a fantasy draft, I would definitely take Ja Morant before Luka easily.
Right now?
Yes.
Oh no,
right
man.
Now.
Yeah. Ooh,
definitely.
Right now?
Yes.
You know what? I might go right now. If you asked me that question a year or two ago,
that's really
or even a year ago, I might go Luka.
Easily. I would have too.
This year is a good year for Ja.
Luka's got that extra he's got that extra height advantage, which plays a little bit of a part, but Ja's athleticism is.
Ja just dunked on a center last night.
Yeah,
and then caught a full court pass.
Height doesn't matter to him. He doesn't
somehow jumped up in the air, perfectly timed it, and got the shot off.
He's more athletic. Ja's more athletic.
He might be the most athletic player.
Yeah, for sure.
That's not too bad of a take.
At the rim, he can do whatever he wants.
You got to pay for the rest of this job.
Patreon. So we decided that with our betting segment, we are just going to post that on our social medias. We have TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, all at the HomePod Advantage. Go ahead and follow those 3 to see episodes, our picks, and just other clips and takes that we have.
And to comment questions for a future segment.
That is correct. Please. We are going to start doing that once we get a few more followers, start asking for your guys' questions, and we'll start answering those on the podcast. But that's going to wrap it up for episode 2. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on Friday.
Ciao. Peace.